Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thanks so much for joining us for Payroll First, the smart way off of GP. If you're still running Dynamics GP, but you're thinking about the future, just know you're not alone. A lot of organizations are exploring ways to modernize without jumping straight into that ERP migration. And so payroll is often the smartest place to start. It's tied to compliance, it affects every employee, and can be a big source of daily friction. So we've got a great session for you today. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and kick it off to our speakers, Jason Cools and John Osberger.
Thanks, Mandy. Hello, everyone. Thank you again for taking the time to meet with us here today. My name is Jason Cools. I'm on the strategic account management team here at Greenshades. And I'll kick it over to John for an introduction, and then we'll dive right in for today.
Hey, all afternoon or good morning, some folks. John Osberger, Director of Sales here at Greenshades. Been with Greenshades for about 5.5 years, looking at the attendee list. I know I've had the opportunity to speak with some of you all in the past, so appreciate you taking some time to join in the webinar today.
Awesome. Thanks, John. So for the agenda for today, we'll be covering the future of Dynamics GP, why payroll should come first in your transition, what to look for in your next payroll solution, and how Greenshades supports GP users through change. All right, so in the first section, we'll be looking ahead, preparing for those changes coming to GP. All right, so as far as the future of GP goes, I think many users today are aware that support for GP is coming to an end in December of 2029. And as myself, John, the rest of the Greenshades team, as we have these conversations with clients, many of which are at the stage where they're looking to understand what the next plan is for the future. So hopefully today's webinar can just share some greater insights from the Greenshades side. All right, so with that, while today GP's native payroll platform, it does function adequately, but there are demands for significant maintenance within GP. So when payroll regulations are continuing to evolve, users can often find themselves scrambling to keep up, which overall it can be risky and a bit inefficient as well. Some of those limitations on the Great Plains side, it can include outdated features, lack of innovation, compromised automation, and just overall, limited flexibility and scalability for growth. Okay, so, overall, although Great Plains has a solid reputation as an on-premise ERP, it does have some constraints as far as payroll capabilities, which can hinder organizations' ability to not only manage growth, but respond to market changes coming in the future. So with this, I do want to stress, this doesn't mean that users need to overhaul everything at once. As we go through the webinar here today, we'll continue to demonstrate how adopting a payroll-first approach can help yield those immediate tangible benefits without the full disruption of an ERP migration. Nope, I apologize. There we go. So when we talk about the Big Bang approach, this is what we see when users are looking to migrate all of their solutions at one time. And in opting for that approach, there can be significant challenges, whether it's from a budgetary perspective, timing, or even just allocating internal resources to support those migration plans. And this is where Greenshades can come in to assist. So with our phased payroll approach, we can help reduce some of those challenges associated with a complete overhaul of ERP and payroll. And this is something that John and his team, they're having conversations on a daily basis with GP users. And John, would you mind, just sharing your insights, what you're seeing, what's working well in that approach?
Yeah, I think even for long time like GP users, they appreciate the complexity that's involved, not just with the migration to a new ERP, but also that, that entire ERP ecosystem that includes, not only added value solutions like Greenshades, but a wide variety of, software and other types of solutions as well. So, with that, a phased approach does make a lot of sense. And considering how critical, payroll is to the organization, it's a pretty clear favorite to be one of those items that's addressed fairly early. And then Greenshades in particular is a pretty attractive first step, since we can deploy with GP and then also seamlessly bridge to whichever ERP is ultimately decided on. So, as a result, we're working with clients who still plan on sticking with GP for several more years. Those who have decided on a succession plan but haven't yet got started on it, and those have actually, begun and are working towards that new ERP. So we have a lot of flexibility and in the ability to support clients again, regardless of where they are on that path.
Awesome. Thanks, John. So this leads us into our first poll question today. So I'll kick it back over to Mandy.
Yeah, John led us right into it. Thank you, John. So just out of curiosity, right, we talked to a lot of clients. Where are you in your Dynamics transition? I'm sure, like I said, we're seeing everything. It's not unusual for some folks to really just kind of be barely exploring options, maybe even thinking about staying on GP for the foreseeable future, whereas some are, trying to get ahead of the curve. So just out of curiosity, thanks for your answers. I see a pretty interesting split, guys. So I would say right now, a little under half of the audience, half of you guys are still exploring your options. Just literally kind of maybe dipping your toe in there, right? And a little over half are planning to stay on GP for now. So interesting. I think not too different, I'm assuming, from what we hear, but on the call, it looks like those two. So you're exploring or you're staying?
Yeah, it looks like I think that's a pretty good sampling of what we're seeing and talking with clients on a pretty regular basis. I mean, obviously, when it becomes a more timely topic, the closer you are to a move away from GP, regardless of really where you are on that journey, a payroll first approach can certainly make some sense. So, we'll get into some of those reasons why, even if your plans with GP are going to be a bit more, long term, because even aside from conversations around ERP changes, there are going to be some clear advantages to addressing payroll in the short term. Jason, if you want to go ahead and advance it. All right. So big question is, why start with payroll? One reason was with the workforce continuing to evolve, it may be time just to evaluate your current systems to make sure they can adapt. What we find with a lot of GP clients is they're long-term users of GP and GP payroll. It's been the entrenched platform. And, usually there is an opportunity for at least a kind of a current modern assessment of where things are and whether it's going to adapt with the organization and your workforce. And then additionally, as GP slows down on various upgrades, whether it's feature functionality, core updates, you do need to make sure that you have a system that continues to grow with how your organization and your workforce changes. Employees, they do have different preferences on how they would like to get paid. Pay cards, earned wage access are two pretty, common topics. They also desire more flexibility. And from an admin standpoint, regardless of how they're getting paid, they do need to be paid, by more complex pay types than they have in the past. And then, with admins doing more, payroll system needs to be able to handle these changes, these evolutions with ease, just make things a little bit easier to handle overall. As far as other advantages by addressing payroll, again, even if an ERP move is more long-term, the cloud can definitely offer more flexibility with handling payroll, HR, tax, really anytime from anywhere. Typically, you're not going to see that with on-premise solutions. And then on top of that, you've got product updates, new tax tables, software patches, all that fun stuff. No longer have to deal with those. They're not your responsibility to manage. They're not your responsibility to contract to others to manage for you. By going to a cloud payroll solution, they're going to be solely the responsibility of the solution provider. Make sure those are taken care of. And the other thing I do want to stress with payroll modernization is we're not just talking about the actual payroll process itself. We're talking about all the supporting systems that go into it, timekeeping, recruiting, onboarding, basically getting the new employees into the company, into the systems as well. So modernization is really going to help out on the HR side as well.
Great.
And then
John.
I think actually I do want to drop one more point real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So as you are also taking a look at a modern solution, you do have other avenues, APIs that can open the door to a more seamless workflow with other systems. Those are available for when you modernize and migrate other, platforms and processes. So cloud-based modern payroll solution allows you to kind of pivot and scale, as your overall environment evolves as well.
Great. And that kind of takes us into the compliance topic. So when it comes to compliance, maintaining compliance health, it's just going to become inherently more and more challenging as GP continues to wind down. So if you think about payroll compliance errors or payroll tax compliance errors, all of those penalties can be very costly. They're direct costs to the organization. And with that as well, you also have to consider things like loss of employee trust if it is a payroll related activity, or just overall impact to your organization. So as Great Plains continues to wind down, there's going to be a reduction in support, updates, some of which will maybe even cease to exist at that point. But this just means that, end users are going to become more and more responsible to ensure compliance in whatever way that they can. And to help reduce, the headaches around compliance, by partnering with a compliance-focused solution like Greenshades, you can make sure that payroll is running smoothly, that it's accurate, and that it's processed the right way every time as well. And this goes hand in hand on the tax end as well. So if clients have employees in multiple states, or you're dealing with those complex local jurisdictions, just like John mentioned, we are here to run those compliance updates in the background so that clients have full confidence that when it's time to submit, everything is compliant and good to go.
Alrighty. And with a modern payroll system, one of the primary goals, whether it's really, Greenshades or other platforms, is, providing more comprehensive, more real-time access and historical reporting to payroll data. Want to deliver a high level of awareness to help manage a number of processes for budget management. You'll not only accommodate job costing and project accounting to link costs to specific budgetary categories. Having a hard time talking today, but also have a lot of increased flexibility to support other contributing systems and really enhance that control and oversight. You'll also have more consistent ongoing awareness across the applicable organization-wide audience to track labor expenses accurately. Budget overruns are pinpointed, timely adjustments can be made. And then also have the opportunity to analyze labor data to uncover additional insights, deeper insights that can inform, production planning, drive the allocation or even reallocation of resources, and also identify where there may be some opportunities for efficiency improvements. Also have the ability to employ historical pay data, more context, more meeting, and really help inform and refine labor budget forecasts for upcoming periods. Modern solutions, again, whether payroll or otherwise, typically they're going to drive a lot more insight, give you that high level of awareness that you're not going to get with a lot of long-term solutions. And then also want to deliver a stable payroll environment. A payroll first approach gives you flexibility, but also gives you that stability as well. The ERP transition essentially operates in the background when it comes to payroll if you go with Payroll First. It's not going to have any impact on your ability to pay people on time, pay them accurately, or handle payroll tax compliance. Payroll is going to keep chugging along regardless of what's going on the ERP side. And, just as importantly, that Payroll First approach gives you the opportunity to stay on top of changes that impact how you need to, manage payroll as well. Payroll First allows you to address critical areas without having to table improvements until you actually deploy that new ERP. So you don't need to wait. If you've got some areas that you need to address, Payroll First approach can definitely help you with that. And then for payroll operations, you can respond with long-term solutions with the Payroll First approach. You don't have to make temporary sacrifices until you go live with a new ERP. You don't have to come up with temporary workarounds. You can come up with the solutions and the workflows that make sense for you short-term and long-term. And then also for your people, whether it's admins or employees, they're going to benefit because similarly with payroll operations, it's not going to be a piecemeal kind of temporary workaround type approach. They're going to have a long-term consistent experience. And when it comes to user adoption, managing solutions on the admin side, anything you can do to promote stability and a seamless experience is really only going to help moving forward. All right, so phased approaches can be very beneficial when possible, not only from you kind of like the pre-ERP move, but also it's also beneficial for the future as well. Typically, it's going to be easier to accommodate when also having to manage the typical day-to-day. There's going to be fewer bandwidth availability issues. You don't need to worry about this getting in the way of other high priority projects. They'll get your needed attention as well. But then on the post-migration state, you need to factor that in as well. Payroll First with Greenshades will continue to offer advantages post-migration. With payroll being decoupled, you can still keep leveraging all the other mission critical capabilities that you need to get out of GP. It'll be uninterrupted, unimpacted. And then unlike other solutions, typically what you're going to find with like outsourced payroll is the integration between Greenshades and GP is bidirectional. So data's going back and forth. It's going to provide a more seamless experience. It's going to be more than just a standard GL integration, which is typically what you're going to find with other solutions. So with that, there's really no period of transition where you have to adopt, manual management workflows, workarounds, post payroll implementation prior to a ERP migration. It's still going to be a seamless experience with Greenshades. We're also not going to be in a holding pattern on that transition away from Great Plains. You can use Greenshades Payroll to its full extent while you work through that complexity of rolling out a new ERP, while you're pushing to meet that, go live date. And then last but not least, HR management, the employee experience, it's going to proceed uninterrupted as well. So whether you're currently using a Greenshades for HR management, or if you would be new to Greenshades for HR management, again, that ERP change is immaterial. We're going to keep humming along, as we have been and continue to do so.
Thanks, John. So next, we're just going to touch on ensuring success and how finding the right payroll partner can truly just make all of the difference throughout that decision-making process. Okay, so when users are ready to start looking for the right provider, it is critical that you find one that best suits your needs. It sounds easy enough, but there's definitely a few things just to keep back in mind when it comes to that decision process. So with that, again, considering your needs, any unique payroll requirements that your organization has, whether those are industry specific, based on your size and scope of the organization, just important questions to ask. And then consider existing technologies and how that fits into future ERP platforms being considered. What I mean by this is, take a look at what you are using for timekeeping, benefit management, onboarding. If you're utilizing those tools with Greenshades today, as we've covered, those items will flow over to that new accounting platform. But it's worth consideration if you are using other third-party platforms, how that's going to fit into that future ERP platform. And then evaluate your budget and implementation budget, right? So as far as budget, is there room to do a complete overhaul of both the ERP and payroll platform at the same time? Or does taking a phased implementation approach, maybe better suit your needs, where you can lift payroll to the cloud and then still have, a little bit more time and flexibility to then focus on the accounting side of the house later on. And then finally, just evaluate vendor experience and expertise. So do they have experience working with your ERP? How do they line up within your industry? And again, just overall, the scope and size of your business as well. So just important questions to ask internally. And then this is going to lead us into the next slide here. So we wanted to lay out the phases of payroll migration. And again, with this, the process, the time frame, it's going to depend on your organization size, your personnel resources, and any areas of specific needs as well. So that's why, phase one, it's going to be that discovery phase. So this gives clients the chance to, share their wants, their needs, what they're looking to solve for in a future platform. And then from there, on the Greenshades side, our team is able to prepare, collaborate with your teams so that when it does go into a demonstration, our team can help tailor that demonstration to best fit your needs for the future. And then phase two, that's going to be the configurement or implementation stage. So that's where our team will work with you all to set up and establish the new system. Again, validate, all the settings are aligned, that your team has the proper training. And then for phase three, for deployments, that's when clients are able to run payroll for the first time, ask questions, provide their feedback. And with this, we get a lot of questions around that go live date. We hear, some clients that prefer a 1/1 go live date. But on the Greenshades side, we understand that a January 1st go live date isn't always the best fit for organizations. With kind of in between holidays, some organizations just don't simply have the resources to support a go live. And that's just an area in which we can be flexible. So we see clients that go live at the start of a quarter, start of the month. So we're here to, support you in any way that we can on that end.
This is all great. Hey, Jason, real quick, if I can interrupt for just a moment. I know we only have a couple minutes left. I'm going to push up maybe our last poll question. I think kind of on that, I think you touched on, the implementations. Would love to understand where everybody is with their payroll, with those payroll and HR conversations. So we asked earlier about your Dynamics journey, right? So maybe you're at the point that you're already looking at demos for different solutions. For those of you that answered, maybe you're, for those that are still gathering information, this kind of just helps us understand as we talk about our next slides and we get into some of the Greenshades specifics on how we can kind of best follow up with you. So I've launched that poll. I'm going to let it slide, but yeah, but just wanted to kind of jump into that too as a precursor to the next little bit in our last few minutes.
Perfect. So, as far as business needs, payroll complexity, again, just to stress here, build payroll to fit your business. Do not force payroll into an ERP solution that's, not lining up with your needs, your growth trajectory. Really consider the size, complexities, any specific requirements that you do have when deciding on a payroll solution. And, this is an area where I think Greenshades takes great pride. We're not a cookie cutter solution. We're here to be flexible around your needs and not the other way around. So just for a quick example here, within the payroll module within Greenshades, we support items like unlimited payroll codes, custom fields, flexible pay schedules and pay runs to truly enable clients to have that full control and flexibility over the payroll process. Turn it back to John.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. So really just wanted to touch on what Jason mentioned earlier about finding the right solution. Just wanted to highlight a few points with Greenshades. We have been providing high value payroll tax and HR solutions for 22 plus years, and actually our full payroll and HR platform is built on top of those solutions. So it's really been battle tested by our thousands of clients over the years. Jason also talked a little bit about compliance in addition to that earlier. We are a little bit unique in this space in that we were born out of compliance. It's a top priority for us, from product development to delivery to support as well. We feel we're very well aligned with clients, especially those that are moving from a long-term on-premise payroll module to a cloud-based solution. On top of that, some of the questions we get around cloud provided payroll, sort of security, around some of those, audit controls as well. We do have annual audits to make sure that we are delivering, not just compliant and trustworthy financials, but also have the policies in place to, really guarantee a high level of, confidentiality and data security for our clients. And then also support. Again, a little bit of unique in this space. We don't outsource or offshore support. Our support team members are Greenshades employees. They're US based. They are here because they can help clients. We don't take messages and just, pass it along. When you reach out, whether it's by phone, email, or even, chat inquiry through Greenshades Online, our support folks can help out. And then I did want to touch on some integration topics as well, real quick. So first off, we do have an integration with GP. This is not just the integration we've been delivering for 22 plus years for GP and GP payroll. We actually have developed a bidirectional integration for our payroll platform between Greenshades and GP. Mentioned earlier, it's not just specifically for GL. We've leveraged our 20 plus years of experience with GP integration to deliver a more comprehensive integration that you're going to find elsewhere. And then on top of that, we have a few other integrations available. I want to touch on one specifically, and that is with Business Central as well. So this is a similar concept. Basically, have leveraged the years and years and years of experience we've had with Microsoft GP integration, have essentially developed an integration for BC, built not just on that, but also have tailored it to how Business Central handles things a little differently as it relates to GL dimensions, as it relates to managing projects via their jobs module as well. So it's a very powerful integration. Again, something that you're not going to encounter with some of the other solutions out there. Just a real point, a good point I want to make for everyone is that obviously whether it's GP, Business Central, or some of our other integrations like Sage Intacct or Acumatica, we'll obviously handle the integration as part of our standard implementation services. However, especially with a payroll first approach, we do understand that we may come across some clients who need to set up a new integration while they are using Greenshades Payroll. They may make that ERP move on the fly. Not a problem. We'll handle that as well. Not just getting our clients set up with a new integration, but also some of the adjustments that need to be made. As an example, when you move from GP to Business Central, you're going to have to make some changes with how the GL is handled. We have the support team. We have the services to assist with that. It's part of our payroll package. It's included. It's no additional charge. So if the change needs to be made, just let us know. Preferably, not the day before. Just give us a little bit of a heads up. So we have some notice on, being able to support that for you. Payroll is mission critical, extremely important. That's why a lot of our clients are taking a look at a payroll first approach. They can address something that's extremely important to them, but also at the same time allow them to, basically, balance a load and not have to take on, everything all at once that is involved with an ERP migration. It's the seamless transition on our end. Doesn't matter where you are today, where you're going. We can continue along with whatever your journey is from payroll, HR, tax standpoint. And I do want to stress that, not all payroll solutions are created equal. Can definitely appreciate that a lot of folks on the call today have not really had to address, payroll as often as some other organizations. GP payroll has been a solid solution. It's been a workhorse over the years. So, just keep in mind there are some very important questions to ask when you are considering a new payroll solution. It's not just, fit and functionality, but how is it going to play in your environment? And then taking into account some of those key considerations, the level of support, focus on compliance, just some of the important things to keep in mind.
Awesome.
Yep.
Ton of great stuff. Again, thank you so much for staying with us. For those that stayed a few minutes over, we appreciate your time. You might have to extend these out next time. But let us know if there's anything that we can do for you. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks so much.
Thanks all.
Thank you all.